shall we do a little what I read this week? Hi, I'm Katie, better known as Reading with Katie Louise over on TikTok and Instagram, and I'm here to bring you what I read this week, a little bit about each book, and my current thoughts or overall thought on those. So yeah, again, it's been a bit of a wild week, guys. Like, I said it would reduce significantly, and it hasn't. That being said, before I go into this, I have actually still been off work. I'm on a phased return, so I'm very much coming home to decompress, and books have been the way forward. So I have currently got 6 books in this stack, but 2 I only started yesterday. So as much as it looks like there's loads, I only started Imagine Me yesterday, and I only started The Rule, but we'll go into it. But yeah, that's the quick debrief, but I'm going to tell you about each book. These are not going to be in any particular order. If you want to see the order, I'll post it in the shorts or as photos if it'll let me. If not, it is over on my Instagram. So, firstly, let me talk about my audiobook that I finished at the beginning. Well, I actually finished this on Friday, but started at the beginning of the week, and that is Defy Me by Tahara Mafi. Now, last week you'll have seen that I wasn't really sure on the series and wasn't sure how this was going. And I did actually end up enjoying this a little bit more. Still not groundbreaking, but still quick and easy, and I'd still recommend to people, especially if you want like a really low fantasy book. So this is, I think, like a sci-fi dystopian fantasy and romantasy. The only irk I had with this one was that it is classed as young adult. However, there was a little bit of smut in this. Now, not groundbreaking, not horrendous, but I just think young adult can range from the low teens, and I feel like that just worries me a little bit that that age could be exposed to it. Now, like I said, it's nothing like vulgar or majorly disgusting, but it did give me the ick a little bit. So I didn't particularly feel full. Yeah. So that's what I thought on that one. So that's the first book that I read at the beginning of the week, and I finished this on Friday. I did inhale like 3/4 of this over last weekend. So I'm surprised it's taken me till Friday, but then I didn't pick up my audiobook from Sunday to then the next Friday. So yeah, but it's another one finished, and I think it leads me into my next book. So as I've just said, that actually leads me on quite nicely onto my next book. Now this is Find Me. However, I did read the Reveal Me novella in this. Now, I don't normally talk much about novellas because I find that they're literally less than 100 pages, and as much as they go towards my reading goal, I don't really fully review them because I don't think you can get a full review out of 100 pages. However, this is by far the best book in the series so far. What does that tell you about the rest of the series? So I actually rated this somewhere in the 4s, I can't remember fully, but Reveal Me was so dramatic and full of drama, and I'll talk about the other one in a minute, but this was like, I've listened to it in one go because it's like a 2-hour audiobook. And yeah, this was just so full of drama. Like, I was actually on the edge of my seat at one point thinking, Jesus, this is actually quite good. So I did move on to that this weekend. So like I said, these are very out of order, guys, but it just feels appropriate to continue with the series that I've listened to this week. So yeah, that was like a wow moment that I actually really enjoyed this, which led me to start the next book, which I will talk about in a second. So as I've just said, I'm talking currently about the audiobooks I've listened to this week. So as I'd finished Defy Me and Reveal Me on Friday and then Saturday, I picked up Imagine Me by Tahara Mafi. Now, I listened to this on Saturday morning for a little bit because I ended up doing a lot of social media stuff in terms of my Instagram, and did quite a lot of editing there. And I've got straight into this. So I'm currently said far bit in. So this is one I'm currently reading. So I did only start this yesterday. But again, I feel like this is going to be quite a good end to the series. There's a lot more drama in it. Yes, there's still the romantasy, but it's more appropriate in my opinion. I find that this is them fighting for the love. Like I'm so glad that Kenji has come into the last few books, because Kenji, for me, I absolutely loved as a character throughout the whole of it, but we only ever see him from the point of view of Juliet or Warner. So it's quite nice for Kenji to have his own point of view because there's more to him than you see. And I really like that. Like, not that I can compare the 2 books because they're very different genres, but like I felt that about Gibbsy in the Boys of Tommen series, that Gibbsy was so well loved in the first 2 books. And then I went on to read Taming 7, the 5th book in the series, and you just saw a different side to him. And I feel like Tahara Mafi's done this with Kenji as well. Like, you're seeing different sides to him, particularly in the last like couple of books. So yeah, I'm very much intrigued in this and actually quite enjoying it. I'm probably not actually gonna, I've already picked it up today, but I'm very much not picking it up much. So obviously I'm not going to talk about it much today because this will be in next week's reading vlog. But yeah, this was just wow, is all I'm going to say. Wow. So far so good, and I think that leaves me with Just Believe Me at the end of the series, but that is the audiobooks for the week that I've read. Next, I picked up Sharp Glass by Sarah Hilary, and I started this and read this within the week. So I picked this up because I've started a new series over on TikTok where I visit my local library and I pick out one book. This was my pick. You'll see in a minute I got more than one, and I talked about that last week. But I wanted to pick this up. However, I flew through the first 40% of this book. It basically follows a woman who wakes up in somebody's cellar. She's a professional packer, so she's packed up somebody's house to move, but she tends to move things that, like, so this particular case is that their daughter was unalived. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. I might just say murdered. And basically she's now found it upon herself to find out what's gone on. So she's gone to this new address that she's been given, and she wakes up in the basement. She's been kidnapped. And I like the theory of this, I like the premise, and the first 40% I flew through, but it just dragged on a little bit too long for me. And then later on, like, the ending had me so angry, I literally just put the book down and my other half was like, what? I was like, that is the most disappointing ending I've ever come across. It didn't even wrap up. Like, I can't tell you what without spoiling it for you. Let's just say, if you were to read the ending of this book, it would anger you because there's just so many unanswered questions. And it really irked me, and I'm still quite angry about it now, and I finished it about 5 days ago. So yeah, it's not a terrible book, but it's not my fave, and I felt completely guilty because the author of this book actually followed me after I posted my library haul, and I feel really guilty because obviously I don't tag authors when I rate a book less than 4 stars, because I feel really awful that they've put a lot of effort into that book, and so I don't ever tag them, and she saw it and commented on it, and it not upset me, but like I felt really bad, and I never want an author to see my review but I always try to be critical, not rude, so I'm hoping that's the same, but I'm rambling at this point. But yeah, that was Sharp Glass, and yeah, it wasn't a bad book, but it wasn't the best book I'd ever read. After Sharp Glass, I needed something to pick me up because I was extremely angry and very much only in my crime and thriller at the moment in terms of reading physicals, so I asked my Patreon to choose my next read. And they did pick One by One by Chris Carter. Now this makes me happy because I haven't disliked a Chris Carter book yet. They're fast paced, they're short chaptered, they're fabulous. That's all I need to say. So I really enjoy reading this one. This basically follows a killer who rings Detective Robert Hunter specifically and tells him to go to a particular IP address where I think the first victim is a male has been captured. And basically Robert Hunter has to choose how he dies. So it's either fire or water. So he's burned alive or he's drowned. So he is made to choose. This obviously, it's a Chris Carter. He's a serial killer, so then it goes on. But wow, I mean, this is 500 pages, guys, and that feels like quite long for me, but this did not feel long in the slightest. I flew through this. I really enjoyed it. I had to put it down at 90% in an evening, and I don't normally do that, but I was just so tired I couldn't pick it back up. So I picked it up when I woke up the next morning. And wow, my jaw was on the floor for the last 40 pages of this book. Like, I cannot even begin to explain. I had some major character development, so that's why I recommend you read them in order. As cases, you can read them as standalones, but there's a little bit of character development in here that made me feel a little bit emotional. I did not see the ending. Like, yeah, this book is still reeling. I'm still thinking about it now. Like, I've given it 4.5 stars, I think, but I should probably rethink that because I'm still thinking about it now. So it might be at the end of the month this gets a rethink on the rating, but yeah, really enjoyable, guys. If you haven't picked up the Chris Carter series, you need to. I didn't think I'd enjoy these, but I absolutely love them. And finally, we have The Rule by David Jackson. So I only started this yesterday, and to be honest, I only read 22 pages. So I intended to I finished reading my first book by 8 AM, so I thought I'd have more time in the day. However, things changed. I went to go and have my nails done. I thought I'd be home by 1 o'clock, and we were going to the in-laws, which was absolutely fine. I thought we'd be home for tea, so I thought, oh, I'll have a really good reading session before bed. We had to watch the Grand Prix before we left, to say we, my other half. And it actually ended up having 6 red flags, so it didn't finish till 3. So we ended up going there for tea, so then by the time we got home, especially with the really turbulent weather, I didn't get home till like 9 o'clock. Then I decided to watch Strictly, because silly me. And by the time I got in bed, I only read like 2 chapters. So from what I can take from this, because I try not to read too much into my books, this follows a neurodivergent adult, and I believe he's going to do something silly. Now, all I've read so far is that I've only just found out he's an adult, so he comes across as a child, very much with his tendencies. I haven't been told as such in the book, but from what I've read from it, I take it that this is an adult with autism, and basically is very much still in his routine, and it's lovely. Like, I'm very intrigued to see how they actually take this now. So obviously it's a bit of a slower start because we do need to get to know the character before everything happens. But basically he has a rule that he has to follow, but somebody gets unalived and his parents will do anything to protect him. So I'm definitely interested to see where this will go. But yeah, definitely intrigued, so we'll see. But I'm very intrigued to get into this. Guys, that's my quick fire reading update. It's a lot shorter this week, even though I've still got 6 books in that stack. I've kind of done a quick fire. I am about to go live again at time of recording this. By the time this goes out, I will have been live. But yeah, that is my week in a nutshell. I want to get back into content, guys. I'm just struggling at the moment to adjust being back at work. It's very tiring, but I am back. I am ready and raring, and yeah, let's see how we go this week with reading. I'm still on a part-time basis, but with the intention of trying to be full-time by the end of the week. So yeah, see how we go. But that was my week in reading. Let me know in the comments, guys, what are you reading? Have you read any of the books I've actually read this week? I'm trying to move away from having book talk books. So yeah, very different. But yeah, let me know. Have you read any of these? How did you find them? If you haven't, what have you read this week? I'm always nosy for recommendations. But that's a wrap on this video, guys. So if you haven't already, please click that thumbs up button and please hit that subscribe button. I will be back with more videos consistently soon, but thank you so much for joining me, guys, and have a lovely week.